Jean-Baptiste Simeon Chardin. This is how you spell his name right here, Jean-Baptiste Simeon Chardin. He was born more than 300 years ago, and he was an oil pastel artist. He used oil pastels to create artworks. This is self-portrait of him. He painted that of himself. He did a lot of ordinary painting, something that you'd see in ordinary life, like this woman who is washing her clothes. When he was alive, there was no such thing as a camera, so a lot of people would draw just things that they see. Here is a cup, a knife, and an apple, and a pear, and it's beautiful. You don't necessarily have to have an extravagant subject matter to be able to make something beautiful. Our subject matter is going to be the apple, and we are going to have this as a still life, and we're going to draw it. Now, I want you to try your best to draw what you see. Make sure that it's large enough. I see that here, it comes here, and then I see that kind of cocked off here. We're going to draw this pretty quickly. I'm not going to spend too much time drawing mine. You can spend more time than I am to make it look nice and neat. I'm going to draw mine pretty quick, so just for the sake of this video. And we're going to be using oil pastels, just like Chardin would have used. And so I'm going to start off with the lightest colors. Now, the lightest colors that I see in my apple is actually the highlights. It's the white. So I'm going to go ahead and put in these highlights right here. And oil pastels blend very quickly and very easily, so I'm going to try my best to keep these highlights, but it's okay if you mess yours up. The next color that I see is a yellowish color, and it's going to be hard to get this exact yellow color, but we're going to maybe use some white to help this out. This is kind of an orangish yellow. You could even go in with a real yellow like this one here and try to blend in some other colors. It's going to be okay if it's not perfectly the same color. That's a hard color to get. Let me come in with my white and see if I can soften it up a little bit. I'm not going to worry too much about that color being too bright. Then I'm going to use an orangish color to come around that in just certain spots. Then, of course, I'm going to be using a red. I'm going to come in with my lightest red first. And I can see that my shadow is going this way and this side's a little bit darker, but I also have some dark points here. Nonetheless, I'm going to be adding quite a bit of red down here. So I'm just going to turn it on my side here to give a nice soft red for this. And we're going to be using several different reds, so don't worry about having to get all of it with your lightest red. Now I'm going to come in with a different red here, and that one might be too similar to what I already have. I'm going to come in with just a darker red here. Ah, there we go. So I can see that the edges here are quite a bit darker, so I'm going to lay down quite a bit of that darker red. I'm going to leave some of that lighter red there in the middle. I'm going to use my finger here to blend it. Be very careful. We are going to be getting oil pastels on our fingers, and that's okay. And it's going to be hard to get it off our fingers, but it will come off. It won't come off your clothes. So you've got to be very careful to not get this on your clothes. We don't want to be leaning on the table or trying to make a mess. We've got to be very careful with what we have in our hands and where we're putting our hands. Okay, I'm going to work on just this half over here so that I can get it finished as an example, and then you can start. Next, I'm going to come in with an even darker red. I'm going to have to peel off the paper for this one. I'm going to start down here at the bottom. I'm going to work my way up. There's going to be some streaks of this dark red, and so I'm going to go ahead and start adding those streaks in. I'm not worrying about the very bottom because that's going to be the darkest, and so I'm not going to worry too much about that. Once again, I'm going to kind of blend it in with my finger. Now I'm going to come in with an even darker red, this red here. And I'm going to be getting the bottom, once again, a few streaks here. Then I'm going to come in with my darkest red. And this darkest red still isn't going to be dark enough, so I'm going to be adding a purplish color down at the bottom. And that's going to make those reds even darker, especially when I blend them in. Okay, now I'm going to come in and I'm going to add my shadow. I'm going to be using the black to do this. And my shadow actually is going back this way. So I'm going to come this way with it. Once I have my shadow down, I'm going to soften it up around the edges of it so that it fades away. Just like that. Okay, I have about this half is getting close to done. It's still going to have these dots in it like this of these little small streaks, and then it's even going to have these white dots in it. If you look at it here, it's going to have some of these white dots. So I'm going to add those. And you can see that this half is starting to get done. This half isn't so much. If yours still looks like this and it hasn't been blended and it doesn't have a bunch of different colors in it, your reds and your oranges and your yellows, then you might try to keep going. But this half is getting close to where I want it to be. It still needs a little work, but I'll put the finished piece down so that you can see where we're drawing at the end of this. Okay, that looks good.